Welcome back, everyone. Well, this week we're going to fix that fuel tank. Hope everyone had a great week. Well, we're going to fix the fuel tank, and I got out here early and I've put on a nice good layer of this rust converter. So what this does, you get rid of all the flaky rust, a real heavy flake, and you wet this down. Now you can brush it on. I used a rag just because I'm not worried about the little hairs and stuff from it. But you're going to give it a good coat and soak it right through. You want all that rust basically look like you just dunked it in water. And you're going to let that dry overnight. So I did the bottom first, just because most of it was good shiny metal, if you remember. Got that done first, flipped it over, gave it a good coat on here, rubbed it down. And it's starting to turn that, the heaviest rust, the most pitting, turned it black first. And it'll slowly continue to darken us up while it dries. Man, that was way louder than I thought it would be. So, yeah, I let it roll around in that tire for about an hour and a half. And I'm not saying she's perfect, but if we sneak the light in there, she's pretty good. There's definitely a few spots of rust here and there. There's one right there, but nothing flaky. The tank sealer that I'm waiting for, that I'm going to order, is definitely going to cover that up, and that's what it's made to do. So I blew the tank out, which was a hell of a job to get that dust out of it. That was fine dust. I'm black. Everything. Brown, we'll call it. So I went through with my die grinder. I've taken all my holes down to bare steel, and I've wiped them down with brake clean. There's a little bit of dirt here. That's the dust that blew through the holes. I tried to wipe it off, but it literally sticks to everything. So I'm going to clean it one more time. Then I'm going to get the old putty, the tank putty. And we're going to fill every one of these holes and see if we can seal it up. Quite a mess going on here. So this is what I'm using to seal the holes. Now I was originally going to use the JB Weld tank repair, but I thought I had some and can't find it. And when I went to the hardware store, I went to Canadian Tire, there was none in stock. So this is what I used, the Permatex stuff. It's pretty simple. It's all basically the same. It's probably all the exact same formula, but it's just two parts. One is inside the other. And the kneading process, when you start squishing it together, you got to knead it together. The mixture of the two creates a chemical reaction, but it's more the heat of your fingers and working that together that starts an exothermic reaction, which is going to cause that stuff to harden. Now, sorry about the noise. I just got the little space heater blowing hot air across this. So I kneaded that stuff up, and I've shoved it as hard as I can into the little hole, and then also on the surrounding clean metal around it. Now this stuff here, it only takes about an hour to flash over. In 5 hours, you can drill and tap and do whatever you want to this stuff, but we're definitely not drilling it. This is just to seal the holes. Now I do have one hole on the other side that I did, but this material, it takes a little while. You got to work it. You knead it back and forth. Wear gloves. Now it's not because the material is hard on your skin, but just that as you work it, your hands get a little sweaty or whatever. You don't want the oils from your skin going into the putty itself. So you work it in good. It'll start to get soft. Lap it over itself just like you're kneading dough until it's all one consistent color. You just take little pieces off and just kind of work it into the hole, and then just try to shove it into the metal, surrounding the hole the best you can. And once you got that all on, you just a little bit of heat, it requires. It's a little chilly here. It's actually the next day. It's a little chilly, so get this little space heater going. This is the Dynaglow. I love this little thing. It just helps take the edge off because there's not really enough time for me to light up a fire and get her cooking in here. But we're going to give this the day to harden, And then we're going to come back and we're going to hit it with a can of spray paint. It is the rust primer, of course, and it's an etch primer as well too, so it'll adhere to itself good. And then we'll give this thing one more wash before we throw that primer on, and we'll be good to go. Here we are. It's actually the next day. All the putty dried rock solid, and I came out and I put one more coat of the primer on. And the stuff I'm using this time here is this Rust Check. This is great stuff. It's an etching primer as well, so it sticks to metal good, sticks to itself good. But the best thing is it converts that rust. Now, if you ever used these rust converter paints before, it's pretty cool once it's finished. On the regular part of the tank where the steel was smooth and there's no rust or galvanized, it just feels like flat paint. Just like if you painted anything, it's just, it's got a little bit of a texture to it, and you can, has that nice satin finish. The spots on the side here where it was not flaky rust, but it was like all surface rust, the paint has gone to like a plasticky feel, and it's totally different. Just rubbing your finger on it, you can hear the difference in sound, but it feels like plastic. And that's the conversion process that it transfers that rust into whatever it is. I'm not sure what the process is called, but yeah, it just converts that rust, and it sticks really good. Now, I was really hoping to have my tank liner, the sealer that go inside the tank, but in all my rushing around and not paying attention, I ordered it off Amazon, and I thought it was going to be here this week, this Wednesday. Ends up that it's next week. It's next Wednesday it's coming in, so now I don't feel so happy about the free shipping that I got on it because it's literally like a week and a half away. So I might coat the outside of this tank in this video. I'm not sure yet, but what I'm going to move on to, I'm going to move back onto that fender. I got my template here, ready to go, and I got a new sheet of steel to put that body panel in. So I'll measure it up. Going to clean up this mess here. That's what's left of the old floor and me washing that tank. And yeah, get her cut out and tacked on. So I'm going to move right on to this fender that we started in the other video. I definitely did screw up. Made a mistake, and the tank sealant that I ordered for this tank, thought it was going to be here this week. It's actually not coming till the 22nd, so I still got a week and a bit to go, unfortunately. But got to keep rolling along. So I got my template traced out. I'm going to cut this out and get this thing tacked onto the driver's side fender. Man, that was horrible. I do not know what this steel is, but it is not what I got on the other side or what I used for these rocker panels, because it does not weld good at all. It's nothing but spits and pops. I have the exact same setting, the same thickness according to the sheet when I bought it, but I don't know. I even washed this with brake clean to make sure there wasn't some kind of coating on it. There's nothing. It's just going to be a lot of extra body work because that stuff is just horrible to weld. Well, that could have went better, but I guess all in all, it could have went a lot worse. I don't know what's up with that metal at all. Now, I did get a little undercut here that actually popped in. There's a little bit of a dip right in here. So I'm going to have to get in behind there with a pry bar and kind of try to push it out a little bit. And then the rest will just be a little bit of body work. This curve in here, coming down towards the bottom, once I started going with this edge, starting to tack this in, I realized there was no way I was going to be able to keep this shape as a dished outwards and this dish inwards. So I ended up taking my hammer and I rolled this edge in and I brought this in almost square. So this is quite abrupt here. Now this I'll have to, again, work it from the back a little bit, but probably do a little bit of fiberglass work here just to try to make that really nice concave curve just like here on the fender. If I do it out of body fill, it's just going to be a mess and it'll crack. But it turned out not bad. Good round here. I do have another little pucker right here, but this is still open, so I'll be able to fix that a little bit. But then again, we're remembering that right to this top edge, this whole thing is covered up, so none of that will be seen anyway. But that's the end for another panel. Now we're diving back into the trunk. And there we go. Got 2 complete coats, good thick coats, especially the second one, on both sides of this tank. So we are fully rubberized, sealed and protected on the outside. I'm gonna let this dry overnight. We'll come back in the morning and check to make sure there's no little bubble holes, because it did go a little thick in a couple spots. Make sure it doesn't gas off and pop a couple little holes in it. This is the finished product on the outside of the tank. Just fully dried. Got a lot of good thick layers on here. Just feels like a layer of latex, rubber latex on there. And of course, we'll run all the way around. Got the bottom of that thing done as well too. And it is finished on the outside. Now, next week, hopefully I'll have my Pour 14 or Pour 15 in, and I'll be able to coat the inside of this tank. So I'm going to put this aside for now. I'm going to jump back in to the trunk of the 64. Here we are back in the Tickle trunk. Time to start getting this thing cleaned up and getting ready to put in a new floor. So my biggest thing back here is I got to clean up all this metal. I got to get back about 1 inch the whole way around, just so when I put my floor in as square as possible, that I'm not running into any of the paint, the primer, or any of the seam seal that was on there. I still got to cut out the pockets for the trunk. Now these here, they're completely gone. You can see my fingers down there. But these were like trunk pockets on the side. I remember having my old cars. This is where you would stick your windshield washer fluid, just jam it down in there. So they got to be rebuilt again. And the way they're set up now, I'm actually going to end up cutting these straight across, and my new floor pan will come right to this edge. Then I'm going to build these separate, and they'll just slide in here. And they're also going to give me my contour, something to weld the bottom of the rear quarter panels to give it that nice shape. Now over on this side, you can see this is the actual bottom of the quarter panel. There's quite a bit of it left right in the middle. But what's nice about this, it gives me my line going down, and then also have my line coming down from my fender well, where they meet in the middle, I'll be able to measure from the floor up and get my exact measurements so I can mirror those over here. Now looking towards the back of the car, this is the outside, this is where the trunk slams down on. The back frame member is perfect as well. Yes, surface rust, no big deal though. It's nice and good. Slots for the straps, for the tank straps are still good. But what I have is the last of the metal that continued on for the floor pan here in the trunk, and it just butted up into the edge right to here, and it was just seam sealer on it. Well, now I got to get rid of all the bits that's left. It's tack welded back in here, which is kind of a bugger, all the way down both sides. And then I also got to cut this out, saving this bracket. This is what's left over from the spout cover, or the spout of the fuel tank comes out behind, or just over the license plate at the back. I got to clean that up as well, get that cut out of there so I can build a new one. There is a trailer hitch on this car. Well, it's going. I ain't towing anything with this beast. And get rid of this old fender strap here as well too, or muffler strap. This will be getting duals out each side, so I'm going to make provisions for that as well. But it's going to take me quite a while to get in here grinding. My biggest thing I want to start on is on the frame rails themselves. These got to be cleaned down nice so I can spot weld to them again. But I got to get rid of all what's left over, the plugs from where I ripped out that old floor. Well, we've been going hard. I've been out here grinding, cutting, hacking, beating with a hammer, trying to get this trunk cleaned up. And this has probably been about the longest part of this whole endeavor. So you can see where I've come in and I've just started cleaning off the metal, getting it kind of edge. I need about a 1-inch lip that I'm going to overlap on the back here. I've cleaned down the rails, got rid of all the spot welds and stuff. I've worked my way around these little, I don't know what you want to call them, little fins coming off the tubs. and I've gone through and I've cut off that square box so I can make my new pockets, and I've worked my way all the way back to the frame rail. Now, coming into here, I've cut out all that hump around where the spout is for the tank, and what I found is this piece of metal here, which is only tack welded in the back, but as I cut it off, I could flex the back of the car here a bit. So all this is structural, not so much safety structural, but just structural for the back of the car. So what I've done is I've left about an inch, the best I could, all around here, to where it's still good thick metal. Gets kind of seedy right here, so I'll take a little more out. But I tried to keep it so that my sheet that's flat on my rails here, this will all come in, and then I'll have to put in like a little 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch filler strip on a 45 or something, and weld it to the floor and weld it to the back. But yeah, this by far is taking up the most time for the rust removal. This is even taking up more time than the floor. And you can see there's nothing left back here. There's going to be 2 of the end frame rails, which is where your leaf spring's attached to. That's the only thing going to be left back here in the car. Now this here is an old trailer hitch. It's coming out of there. I'm getting rid of that. I won't be towing anything with this beast. But yeah, it's been a hell of a go on that. Now, before I let you go here for the day or for the week, I come across some holes here up on my hood, and this honestly is probably going to be the worst repair that I have to do. This is so visible. Everybody looks at the hood of a car. Other than this dent that's in here, from, if you remember way back, the hood was bent in half like an old Chevy. This is going to be a problem. I'm going to have to cut out a square or an oval shape here and try to piece that in. Now, I only have a Miller 220 volt with 045 wire, so it's going to be too much for this by far. So what I'm thinking I might have to do, I might have to rent or see if I can borrow a 110 MIG welder, maybe a flux core, or something I've been thinking about doing is jumping into TIG welding. This might be the excuse I need to buy that TIG welder. But anyway, thanks for all the people that have been following along. Thanks for sticking around. We'll catch you guys again next week.